So, um, two L's today, baby. And look, I wasn't on top of my game because I was a little goofy last night. You got a little goofy, got a little oiled up last night. But I don't feel that bad about today because I did spot an opportunity that was like, I found the top of it, whatever. I'll show you, but I didn't actually draw this out because the entry wasn't there. But I had it was just one of those like gut feeling things where you're like, but also not because there was actually a reason to get in. This wasn't a good signal, as it were. Okay. Also, look at this the shape of this profile. Volume profile always like can mean two things at the same time. Like a P-shaped profile can be bullish. Uh, we might have come like open down here and then shot up through this volume and then consolidate here. And maybe after close, we're exploring volume up here. That would be a bullish P shape. This is obviously bearish because we just like built up a ton of volume and that's why we had this crazy fucking explosion down. Now we're retesting the volume area, but yeah, that's just a little tidbit. Always look at it's kind of like everything in trading, but like I feel like volume's a big one. It's like everything can kind of be two meaning. It's just like what's the context. So it was also weird, a little bit sideways, but we did get some good movement. Like early in the day, we got good movement. And it was so this. I came in late, but I saw this, and I'm not sure like where this green arrow is because it is a like a nice bounce, and you're kind of expecting this would be a reversal. And I had drawn out this supply zone, this demand zone earlier on, but the problem is you gotta like tweak it a little bit to make it actually touch the demand zone here. And something I decided today is that the zone itself is really one of the most important things, I believe. So you can kind of, it's not always going to touch it exactly, but I'd be worried about taking that thing. I'd be worried about going long up here and then it coming down before going up. But if it is going to go up and your stop is down here, then maybe if you're willing to take that heat, just get in there. I mean, if you're right, you're right. I just want to see what it looked like. So I hadn't drawn that in yet because I think that was a little. Again, I give it like 30 minutes to an hour before I draw in the 9:30 because it can be deceiving. Because look, I mean, how many times have we seen the first 30 minutes just get faded? Like, look at this to the minute. 10 o'clock was the where this opening move shifted. That was the bottom of the opening move. So be aware of that. It's not always going to fade. You can't always fade the opening move, but it worked this time, and it did hit the bottom of that. So maybe that was. Maybe we draw it in and see what happens. See if you can fade it, and let's look at volume. Man, thought I had made this more visible. There you go. It's gonna be kind of ugly, but I just want to be able to freaking see it. Yeah. And there was a nice little freaking right there. There's this guy right there. So this is kind of a volume value, volume fail. It's bouncing into a volume area. So that seemed like a decent place to go long. I actually kind of want to see what happens when this gets like. Let's just see what that looks like. Okay, and then we went up and really consolidate. I came into the market when we were consolidating a little bit. This you get a rejection up here, and this is like it's a sort of a volume gap that we're bouncing out of, but you don't get a good entry candle. And yeah, I just don't love it. I would like if this was like maybe more of kind of a bell curve and we were very clearly like tapping off the edge of this curve. That would be nice, but I don't love that short, especially after this big impulse upwards. So, but I'm still you can see I'm just drawing out all of the fucking I'm drawing out all the zones here. What was happening with the reg channels up there too? I mean, Jesus, it touches it to a T at that high. So I don't know. Maybe you risk it for the biscuit. That's very risky though. I was like, I felt good about today too because I was very like laid back. I was watching the move happen, and even though I like kind of saw it coming, I didn't see it coming to the extent that it did. But I saw some kind of impulse coming. I'll show you, but I didn't try to FOMO in or anything. This one, I don't love that. It's just this one could probably faked a couple people out. This was like a beautiful zone that formed. But I mean, and it bounces right off of the 1801 midline too there. But if you just look at the price action that's like coming down into the zone, it really doesn't scream like I have some bullishness in it's also on the POC, so that's kind of like another little fake out. But this is not bullish. You want to see just like breaks of even though this thing broke structure, it's like why did we take so long to come back down here? Instead of seeing it like this and then trying to go along right here, remember you want to see. Oh my god! You keep doing that. You keep doing it. Instead of that bullshit, whatever I just did. Instead of this, and then go long. You want it to be this and then go long because we're still bullish with that. It just needs a little more juice. But we were out of juice here. Okay, why did I go long down here? Because, and I think the two entries I took today also were just too early. Just too early. So I saw like a really nice thing right at the value area low. My problem was this is where it's like, okay, I need to wait for the zone to hit. This is where I took reg channel coinciding with value area low, and that did not fucking work. I also had my stop down here. It would have worked if I had my stop below that previous low. I would have taken some heat, but either way, it becomes very clear that just wasn't the entry. But the zone that this formed, then the reg channel accommodates it. Failure to break out of that reg channel, and then you're not quite at value area low. It's kind of like a smooth little bump down here. There's not volume below it though. So that's really where you want to go in is that green candle with the zone, with the reg channel, with OK volume, and that's an easy. You gotta sweat for a minute, but that's a 1-to-1. And once again, like just nice 1-to-1. And you want to be careful. Like I might be a little cautious about it bouncing. It does bounce out of here, but it still manages to get through there. I'd be cautious about this little volume gap. But yeah. So yeah, that was a little silly. That was 30 points. L. Okay. And then a little, just like more consolidation. And this must be where like all the volume building was. And why did I short here? Here's also kind of the same thing. Like this was a zone and I used it as my stop, you can see. But if I had used this as my stop, so I was looking at this bigger zone up there. I was looking at this one first, and I was like, okay, there's like there's a little volume here. Maybe it'll bounce back out of that, and that's when I see this beautiful candle. You do see it make a big attempt down, and I thought I was good for a minute, but with that big red candle, but that didn't work out. And then I'm thinking like, oh, this is a fucking reversal or whatever. It's a bullish reversal. But in the back of my head, I had this upper zone because of like zone forms decently, but let's just note this volume shelf right here. Yeah, like how's that? That doesn't look great to me, to you. Does it to you, to me? So that's the border, you goofball. Okay. That's still like, just look at the ugly gray box. You have this zone. You have this volume gap. That's what that gray box we just drew. And look how it ticks directly off the volume gap. Directly off the volume gap. And then just shoots straight the fuck down. Like it just takes out any liquidity that me, aka me, that was sitting right here. Just ticks into the volume gap, decides there's no volume for me here. All the bulls give up. Any volume just turns bearish there. And that's a dime. But the problem is, obviously, there is no good setup. There's no good candle to get in on. If you're one of those psychopaths that just puts a limit order as soon as you get into the zone, you could have taken that. If you put a sell order right below this candle, which this isn't a bearish candle, so I don't know. Trying to think of how you get in there. The thing is, like, this candle is so big. But you could still take a 1-to-1, obviously, in hindsight. But I would be super cautious about taking 1-to-1. That's funny, because in the next minute, it actually makes the 1-to-1. You don't know that's going to happen. But in the next minute, and then if you do manage to get in down there, if you do manage to get in on that, that just turns into like, you know, like every time they drop a little bit of volume, you can just take some off. Take off. There are pre. I'm not gonna draw it out, but there are like pre previous day, previous week areas that you can target. Point of controls, value areas, whatever. But yeah, and then I was drawing out these zones, kind of waiting for it to come back up. It didn't. But I was a patient little boy. I waited. I waited. Hasn't come up there yet. So it came up to this one and did not really get a little reaction, but not great. And you're already definitely in a kind of a reversal. You broke this high, you broke this high. So I don't know. But yeah, that was the big one. And maybe this is the entry, but just put your stop up there instead, you know? Like that could have gotten you in. And then if you want to take if you're willing to take that much heat, like you're thinking this thing is going to go down. Because like, think about it. If it just, what I had been thinking is like, maybe I could just get a 1-to-1 out of this because it's kind of going to do what it did, which is go up, not hit the high, go down just far enough to give me a 1-to-1, not necessarily break that low. And then I can take profit and then it does whatever it does. But it kind of did the opposite. It goes up, goes down not enough to take profit, goes up not enough to break this bigger high, and then turns into a bear run. So, yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe that might just be one of those ones that you just can't get in unless you're aggressive. But, yeah, and that was 21 points. 24 points. So even all told, still $1,000 of loss. But that's our first full L day. That's our first red day, I think, testing this out. Certainly to that extent. So that's a tough one. But it was, I feel like it was a little bit enlightening. It certainly cemented some concepts. Wait for the zone tap. If you have a gut feeling about, if you enter short and you have a gut feeling about something better above you, either adjust your stop accordingly or just wait for it to get up to the place that you have a better feeling about. Yeah. What makes more sense for it to take off? High volume or test no volume and then bounce out? I don't know. I feel like you could argue about that and you can collect a lot of data about that. In this one case study, it was more important that we tested low volume and left rather than touching high volume and leaving. Which I think low volume might be more conducive to rejection. And I've also heard tell that like on shorter time frame pullbacks, so like because this is essentially a continuation of what's going on here. So as this being kind of a shorter time frame pullback to that macro downtrend, I've heard that volume gaps are more conducive to that. Whereas big volume nodes, point of control is more conducive to big trend reversals. But that's hearsay. That's something I'm going to keep in my head and just kind of look at what goes on. But yeah, pay attention.